It's our pleasure to welcome Tyrone Ross Jr. with 401. Tyrone will talk about the impact of giving and how important it is that we're giving back and building in our communities. Let's please welcome Tyrone Ross Jr. Good to have you here.
Thank you. The silence of an industry that for hundreds of years has ignored its history. The silence of a child standing on the side of the lunch line because he doesn't have lunch money. The silence of conference organizers that go into cities all over this country and dare invite some of the most brightest, richest, capable among us and don't pour back into the community. The silence of a child that opens the door to an angry landlord who wants his money. There's no one home. The trauma of that child being told, you got to get everything out of this place, and if not, I'm sending the sheriffs. The silence of black women in a boardroom full of white men who were the token hire for diversity and inclusion. The black male who was told, you'll never make it in this business as Tyrone. You should call yourself Tyler. The silence of that same young man who knows his father came to this country illiterate, unable to read and write, met his mother who was 16 when she got pregnant, 17 when he met her with a 9-month-old. 6 years later, we'll call him Tyler, came along on this journey of giving. Tyrone Sr. and Carol Ross couldn't give me anything, but they gave me a last name. They gave me passion. They gave me gratitude. And they gave me love, because that's all they had. My mother used to tell me, when she couldn't give me lunch money, say thank you. And I'm going to check to see if you did. And I would get home and she'd say, did you say thank you? People all over this country, that's all they have. 20% of the children where we stand, 20% of the children in Broward County live in poverty. 20%. And we're here in all our revelry and S&P 500 palm trees and drinking worth more than some people make in a month. And we don't put it to a child that's hungry. If you stared into the eyes of a child that's hungry, if you smelled that, which I have, of someone who hasn't eaten in days, the screams of a child that is being raped by their father and grandfather in the basement of where they live. If you haven't been proximate enough to people that smell, not because they can't shower, but for protection. He didn't shower to keep his siblings off of him. If you've seen a 13-year-old child in prison that I had to go visit, cowered in a corner, accused of murder, 13 years old. I know this because I was a probation officer before I entered Wall Street. There's no direct route to being a financial advisor. There's no direct route to Wall Street if you're the first-generation high school graduate. There's no direct route to Wall Street if you grew up in a home that was completely unbanked. And by the way, money buys happiness. And let's stop damning check cashing places and payday loans and scratch-offs. You know why? Scratch-offs fed me. And if they didn't feed me, I wasn't the first to finish high school and the first to go to college to have the opportunity to be kicked out twice and then eventually graduate. 20% of the children right now where we stand, there's a hungry child right now that cannot eat. It's on me. I've experienced tremendous racism, bigotry, and all types of things to be here right now for those kids. And shame on those of us that come from those environments of literally nothing. My parents used to feed my sister and I and go to bed, drink hot water to go to bed. Those of us that know our history and that get in these environments and don't pull people to the cause. I don't need to reach all of you, I need to reach one. And shame on us that this room isn't filled with those children right now so they can stand in this front row and see me. I can be him. If I see it, I could be it. That's the real reason there aren't a lot of black advisors in this business. That's the reason. We don't expose them. They can't see me. You can have all the backdoor meetings you want, but until we get proximate to these kids, until I can see your pain, until I can see your frustration and your fear, the kids want to learn, they're hungry. What good is us standing up here for days to talk about finances and educating people on money if we don't put nothing in them? Right now, there's a mother that's waking up and she got two choices: make a left to go see the dope man or make a right to go get food to feed her hungry child. If I give her money, I can't fix it, but I gotta put something deep in her spirit. I gotta get you to feel it. I don't need all of you, I need one. One. That's our responsibility. And financial advisors, if you're in here, we're complicit. You want to talk about income inequality in this country, we're complicit. I was part of it. We sell our services to the rich and our souls to wirehouses. I was part of it. Not knocking anybody's hustle, by the way, but it's just the truth. Acknowledgement of power and privilege is a thing. You should not feel guilty. I get contacted all the time. Tyrone, what do I do about my kids? I want to send them to this really good school. You should. I am pro-capitalism, pro-billionaire, but I don't expect Jeff Bezos to come here and drop off his money bags in Broward County. That's on me. It's on us, those who want to band together to do it. Every child deserves great financial education, regardless of zip code, regardless of what your parents didn't know, regardless of a mother that got pregnant at 16, regardless of a father that walked out of the house every day for 40 years to feed a family and couldn't read and write. Investment News 40 Under 40. I took that magazine to my father. He could finally read. I said, Daddy, read your name in the magazine. Read your name in this magazine. The same name that they told me I needed to change. I paid with my skin. I had a branch manager tell me to my face, and I won't say the word, but I swear I want to. You'll never make it in this business, N-word. But here's what I know. It was never about me. If you walk out that door and you read that banner, it says, abused, neglected, abandoned children. Abused, neglected, and abandoned children. Think about that for a second. The executive director I'm going to bring out shortly works with children. They do everything short of forensic science to make sure that they find out these kids' birthdays. Those boxes are for kids when they find out their birthdays, don't even know when their birthday is, and they get a box with a plastic harmonica and some candy. We have a responsibility to the children in this country to uplift them, and there is no better industry to do it than ours. We've been called for this moment. We touch the one thing that everyone needs to live, money. If we put passion and purpose behind the money, if we justify our CFA designations and justify our Series 7 and justify our Barron's 100 advisors in the country with purpose, we change. We don't need the government. We don't need anybody to do anything. But we need to do is take passion, purpose, and commitment, combine them, and change lives. I don't need all of you. I need one. One. Giving is exponential. We cannot sit here. The smartest people in the world cannot even begin to comprehend what it means. I'm standing here because of thoughtful givers. standing here, if someone didn't give me an opportunity as a first-generation high school graduate, black male, illiterate, I didn't know what a stock was until I was 26. That's disgusting. And that's not the system's fault, but that's just where I come from. And again, this is an indictment for those of us that come from the environments and stay in the Diplomat Hotel and don't let the people know who don't come where we come from what that's like. If you didn't grow up the way I grew up, I don't expect you to know. If you didn't walk out of a house to go get a child to go to school and your car was surrounded by gang members and your life was on the line, I don't expect you to know. If you didn't have to go to a bathroom in a plastic bag as a child and walk it out to the curb, I don't expect you to know. There's a child right now, hungry, standing in line wanting to eat. There's a child right now that just simply wants to be fed, to be loved, to be cared for. Passion, purpose, commitment. I don't need all, I need one. I need one of you to understand this cause, and we change it all. Somebody has to go first. Shout to Phil Bach and Exponential ETFs. He reached out to me. He said, hey, listen, they want to do this initiative in Detroit for financial education and financial literacy. By the way, financial literacy works. Let's knock that off, too. The problem is we're not committed enough. 3 E's, exposure, education, and empowerment. In all our splendor, we want to lead with the middle E. Let's tell everybody how smart we are. We need to expose people. Exposure goes 2 ways, getting proximate. If I stand next to a woman and I see her sitting on the street and I ask her, do you need anything? Do you want anything? And then she stands to me and simply says, I just want a Coke. I haven't had a Coke in years. How many Cokes have you had over the last couple days? I just want a Coke. If we don't get proximate to people, if we don't touch the people, if we don't feel the people, how do we know what they need? Exposure changes you and it changes the recipient. Because now if this front row is not full of black boys, shame on me, and it's not, and that kills me. You know why? Because almost 90% of them cannot read. That's a crisis for all of us, by the way. Because guess what? You can tune this message out and you may not care, but guess what? You can put your kids in that good school, but those kids that don't go, your same kids that can rob, they can rape, they can steal from, they can beat them up, they're going to meet in the streets. You can prepare the path for the child? No. You can prepare the child for the path. So we all have a responsibility to make sure we corral the kids. We were just talking backstage, and you'll hear the story of a young man, his foster family gave him up because he was eating too much. They caught him eating too much. And when they finally took him out of the environment, they asked him, they said, why are you eating up all the food? He said, because I never had any. I never had any. So now I got it. I'm going to engorge myself. Exposure. If I get exposed to the stock market, which I did, 26 years old, and I'm like, what is this world that I don't know about? If I get exposed, if I see it, if I know what it is, now I want to learn. Now educate me. The empowerment piece, I sat right back there last year. Paul Tudor Jones stood on the stage, and God bless him, and I love what he does. I sat right back there and watched this man put up slides of all the opulence and success, and the people that had the success had white skin. And he's sliding and sliding and sliding, and then we finally get to the kids in Africa who need water. I don't blame them. Visual. The visuals in this business need to change. I just did the Trillions podcast, and there was a woman from Charles Schwab. And she said, I turned on the podcast and I heard your voice, and I pulled over because I knew it was a black man. It's 2020. The power of giving. I'm only here because people poured into me. I'm only here because a track coach saw a kid to keep coming to practice every day, didn't have track shoes, and drove me to Pennsylvania. I was in New Jersey. He drove me to Pennsylvania after practice to buy me the first pair of track shoes that I did not have. I went to school for free because of track and field, because he gave. Because he gave to me that day. I'm here to talk about giving for all of the kids across this country who need that same love, the same support, and do not get it. I don't need all of you, I need one. There's trillions of dollars moved around in this money, in this business. I need one of you. One. We asked for $10,000. $10,000. And we're back there, Erica brought the boxes, and we asked, well, how much money came through the system already? $800. 10 grand. Their operating expenses are $400,000 a year. Some of your firms probably traded that in the last hour. The power of giving is exponential. And it's not just those kids, by the way. It's giving an appreciation to people who you work with. It's giving an appreciation to the people who cleaned up behind us all week and simply grabbing their hand and saying, thank you. It's appreciation for the people who do for you what you don't want to do for yourself. You've done so well, but now you can start to use your money to buy your time back. And I tell this story all the time. I always make sure I have cash on me when I go places. And I never pass people in need because my mother say, don't you ever do it. If I raise you to do anything, don't you dare pass a person in need. I don't need all of you, I need one. I'm walking in New York City and I see this man, I see him and I'm taking the money out my pocket. And I approach him and I didn't have the time, but I had the money this time. And I'm walking and I see him and we lock eyes. The power of proximity, the power of seeing somebody who hasn't eaten, who life is just beating them down every day. I just need a roof over my head to shower. My family has forgotten me. And by the way, if you actually take some time to talk to homeless people, you're all one tragedy away. Some of them are highly educated. And I grab his hand and I pull him towards me because I'm used to that funk of failure. I'm used to that smell of disappointment. And I said, I appreciate you. And he cried in my arms. He said, people walk by me every day and throw change at me and money at me, and never in my life has someone said, has they appreciated me. Who in your life right now that you don't show appreciation? Give to them. Give. There's nothing better. And again, this message is for those of us that come from brokenness. I am broken. My dream is never going to come true, ever. The one thing I've worked hardest at is never going to come true. But I got broken for this purpose, for these children in Broward County, for the children all over this country, for the children of Detroit where I went, for the children in Providence, Rhode Island. All over this country, I will touch them all, and I'm leading the charge. I don't need all of you. I need one of you to feel it. There's 1,000 more me's. We have to go get them. We have to expose them. And I'll tell this story, and I definitely want to leave time to talk about the work that Erica does with this organization and how we should be committed to the last E, which is empowerment, which is endowment, which is we don't take the picture at the school with the kids and then leave. The commitment is they come back. And I'll tell you a true story. When we had the call, Matt Middleton and I, again, givers, Matt Hogan, Matt Middleton, John Swaltz, givers. This is not the norm, Tyrone, but we'll give you a little time to rant about this. The industry doesn't, it's a little, but we'll give you that. Givers. Josh Brown, giver. His cause isn't mine, but he said, here, take my megaphone, scream into it, whatever you want. Giver. My track coach, giver. A lot of you, givers. So I'll tell this story, and I definitely want to take questions and bring Erica out so she could talk. Young man reached out to me on Twitter, and he asked for my time. I said, sure, I'll take the call. And he called, he said, Tyrone, I love what you're doing on Twitter, and I definitely want to help, but I just don't know how. Now, at the time, I did not know that his grandparents left him millions of dollars when he was 19 years old. I didn't know it. He's set for life, probably in his 20s now, I don't know. We had a really good conversation. And he said, well, what do? I'm conflicted. I could send my kids to this really good school, and or you know, maybe I can send them to a school that's 4 blocks away, but it's not the best school. I said, send your kids to the best school. You deserved it. You earned it. Your grandfather, whoever left you that money, busted their tail, so you have that privilege. Use it. Privilege is not a problem unless you don't acknowledge it. Use it. I got 2 little nephews. If it's in my power, I'm going to send them to the best schools possible. Use it. And he said, okay, what else could I do? I said, but go give to that school where you don't want your kids to go. When people are poor, they put their kids in the car if they have it, and they drive to the rich side of town for a reason, to show the kids this is how the rich people live. Put your kids in the car. Take them there. Quick caveat to that, Jeff Levine, some of you may know on Twitter, brought his family an hour and a half to New Jersey on Christmas to come with me to a homeless shelter for women. Expose them. He gave. But back to the story, we have a great conversation. And it gets emotional. We're both crying because he understands, he gets it. I don't need all of you, I need one. And he said, Tyrone, I'm gonna hang up this phone and I'm gonna go find some way to give. A couple days later, he DMs me again. He said, where are you? I need to tell you this story right now. I said, all right. I pick up the phone. He's bawling, crying. He said, I'm walking down the street, and I see this man, homeless guy. He said, I'm going to be honest with you, Tyrone. I was nervous. And he stopped me, and he asked me for money. And he said, I just want to get something to eat. The store's over there. And if you go back to what I said, I've been saying all the time on the way down here about carrying cash. He said, I never carry cash, Tyrone, but I just happen to have $200 in my wallet. He had $200 in his wallet. He said, I didn't really want to give him $100. Right? We laughed about it. I'm like, I get it. Backstory to that is he only had the $200 in his wallet because he was working with a couple. The husband died, started working with the couple. The wife said, here, take $200, take your wife out to a nice date on us. He wouldn't take the money, so she sent it. So he just had it folded up in his wallet. So he looks at the man and he says, all right, he kept 100, he gave him the 100, and the guy just starts crying right there. Thank you so much. You have no idea. I wanted food for myself, but now I can get food for my family. And now this young man is on the phone crying to me. He's in full-on tears. And I said, what is it? He goes, we started talking, and I asked him what his name was. His name was Tyrone. The power of giving. If you go back to the beginning of my talk, what did I say? I was told by this industry, don't you dare call yourself Tyrone. The silence. We can't be silent anymore. Thank you. So I'm probably not the best one to answer these questions, but, and I told Erica that I would bring her out with as little time as possible, but anonymous questions. How are you able to be a busy financial consultant and still focus on activism? How do you balance both? I don't have a choice to balance them. It's part of everything that I do. So it's not a balance. I've lived it. I don't have any choice, right? People ask, well, are you nervous? Did you script the talk? I can't script this talk. I lived it. My life is the script. So what I try and do is now I make sure that any conference that I go to, anybody that wants to partner with me, you have to give, I have an endowment now with my name at Georgia Tech because I got kicked out of Georgia Tech as a first-generation college student, twice, by the way. And I now have, twice, they readmitted me and I got kicked out again. I just didn't go to class. But I have an endowment in my name. So if I'm going to come to your conference, you're going to have to contribute to my endowment. If I'm going to come to your conference, you're going to have to break your butt to make sure that when I see this front row, I see black and brown boys, black and brown girls, people that don't look like the norm. I've been talking for a while, and I'm tired of looking into the crowd and not seeing me. I'm complicit. I need to fix it. It's a part of everything that I do. Lastly, and I'm sure there's people going through this, is like I said, I'm a broken man. What I wanted to be, I'll never be. I didn't expect any of this. Again, I came here last year to sit on the panel. I'm a big crypto guy. My whole practice is crypto. To sit on an ETF panel and I was blown away by the hotel and the opulence and the whole thing. There's this duality that you have to walk where you come from nothing and you're exposed to so much opulence. It's a guilt. So it's a part of my life. I can't separate the two. And the beautiful thing is my clients love it. They accept it. They help me, right? The logo for my endowment that I'll be releasing, my clients built it. They're all in. And I would venture to say that if you are a financial advisor in this room and your clients know that you are committed to giving, my God, what could you do? What could you change? I have conversations with advisors all over the country who reach out to me, Tyrone, let's find innovative ways to give. There's a financial advisor, Brent Weiss, of Facet Wealth. They take their insurance fees. The only reason they do insurance is to make sure they can take those fees and donate them to financial literacy. How beautiful is that? So I can't separate them. Besides monetary donations, which is vital, how else can we contribute in our communities? I will say this, guy, it's just time. And this is a perfect point to point this out. Perfect time to point this out. So many of you, and you may be in this room, if you've come to me and have said any word of encouragement, I appreciate you. My mentees appreciate you. My mother and father who sacrificed their whole lives appreciate you. These kids appreciate you. But here's how brainwashed we are, that people could write you a check for $1,000 and say, I know it's not a lot. I think Erica said $1,000 for them feeds 10 kids. Somebody walked up to me and literally, I can't donate, Tyrone, I want to give you cash. It's not a lot. $60. When I was growing up, some days if we had $60, we wouldn't have been sitting in a house with no lights. My mother wouldn't have been boiling hot water so we could stay warm. Probably wouldn't have got evicted either. So one main thing you can do is give your time. Give your time to a little Tyrone who just wants to be a financial advisor but doesn't know how. It's in him. Give your time to that kid that your kids invite over. I was that kid. Talk to him. Hey, just really get into him. Because I couldn't wait until my friends invited me over because that meant that I could eat. I could have snacks. I experienced things that I had never experienced before by going to my friend's house. And I'll end on this. I'm a 40-year-old man with my childhood in storage. I can't take you to where I grew up because I don't have a place to take you. I would have to take you to 9 different places. The fact that I stand here is nothing short of a miracle. I stand on the shoulders of 2 groups of people. One, my mother and father, God bless them, and all of the thoughtful givers in Wall Street that have helped me. I have no doubt that within 10 years' time, this will be the most beloved industry in the world. The paradigm shift has taken place. I don't need all of you. I need one. Erica, can you join me, please? I think you got like a minute. I tried to do good. But.
You did great. Thank you so much, Tyrone. Thank you so much for having us and allowing us to share what Voices for Children of Broward County does in our community. The 3 of the things that Tyrone was talking about, the education, empowerment, and exposure, those are things that are core to our mission. We really believe that every child in our community deserves a chance and a champion. And without those 2 things, our children in our own community would not experience education, exposure, or empowerment. One of the other things that Tyrone was talking about is that 20% of our community goes hungry every night. That number is about 80,000 children every single night in this community go to bed hungry every night. And we really work hard to make sure those kids in foster care have the opportunity to eat. He was also talking about one of my personal favorite stories of one of my favorite little boys, Jamarcus, who is in foster care. He's in a traditional foster home with a foster mom and dad, and they decided to terminate his placement because he was eating all their food. He's 10. And on Saturday night at 2 o'clock in the morning, they found him in the kitchen eating 9 Haagen-Dazs bars. And they said, "That's it, we're done with you. You ate all of our ice cream." And so they terminated his placement yesterday, and he has moved now for the 8th time to a different foster home here in our community. And I was with him on Monday night, and I asked him what happened, and he said, "Miss Erica, the reason why I was eating 9 ice cream bars is because before I came here, when I was living at home with my mom and my sisters, we weren't allowed to eat. And so when I find that there's food in the refrigerator, I stockpile it and eat as much as I can because I'm not sure when my last meal is going to come." So our work is really important in our community. We are a small organization with a really big impact. Broward County has one of the largest numbers in the state of Florida that has children in foster care system. We want to make sure we reach every one of those children to give them a chance and a champion. And I thank you so much for allowing me these few minutes to share with you what we do. Thank you, Tyrone.
Absolutely.